Here are my 9 key points to achieving the best result when selling your home on the open market. So point number 1 is around pricing your property effectively when entering the marketplace. Now this is really important. There's a couple of things I want you to avoid, okay? Firstly, you've got to remember that price is meant to entice. Whatever your headline price on your property is, where it fits in the list of properties on the portals, that's what's going to potentially entice more viewings into your home, which is going to result in more offers, which is going to result in a better sale price at the end. So what I don't want you to do is fall into the trap of overpricing your property because you want the best price possible. What that's going to do is limit the amount of viewing interest you're going to get, and eventually your advert's going to go stale and you're going to end up having to reduce your price and chase the market that you could have got at the beginning if you got it right. I also want to consider where you're positioned in terms of the pricing bands on the portals. Now let's remember that the portals are the biggest place for buyers to go and view properties that are available on the market. So where you're positioned within those portals is absolutely crucial to the amount of hits that your advert is going to receive. For example, if your property is going to go on the market for £200,000, do not price it at 199,995 because that's great for people looking up to 200,000, but if I consider that there might be somebody looking from 200,000 to 250,000, because you've priced it just below, you won't show up in that search. And they've actually got more money because you're at the bottom of their budget range. So they might actually be prepared to pay you a better price than someone that's looking up to 200 because their budget is just below. So really think about where your property is positioned and price it at a level that you know is going to get people through the door. So moving on to point number 2, and this is around presentation. Now we've all heard about the 3 Ps: price, presentation and promotion. We've covered price. Price is super important to get people through the door. Presentation is the next one, which is equally important because when they're through the door, you want your home looking its best. So we don't want it looking tired. If there was a bit of decorating that needed doing, get it done. We don't want to have mess everywhere. We don't want to have clutter. We want to have nice, tidy work surfaces, everything clean and everything put away and everything presentable. Fresh lick of paint where it needs to. If there's damaged carpets, get them replaced. Look in the bathroom, give it a bit of a facelift. Make sure you've got in between the tiles and regrout it if you have to, and the seals around the bath. All of those things that, you know, to eye level could potentially put someone off or give them the illusion that the property is a bit tired and needs more work than it actually maybe does. It's just about thinking about, if I was viewing that property, if I was the buyer, what would I pick up on and what would I want to see change? So walk around your house as if you're a viewer and tidy up the points that stick out to you. So moving on to point number 3, and this is now focusing on that 3rd P, the promotion. Okay, so we're going to specifically talk about marketing material. Now, you will likely invite 2 or 3 estate agents to value your home and ask them the right questions for you to make a decision on which agent you would like to work with and would like to have marketing your property, which you should do and is absolutely right. So what you want to focus on is how are they going to effectively put together the right type of advert, the best photographs, make sure there's proper floor plans on there, video viewings, a lifestyle description, make sure the brochures look glossy and everything is presented as it should. Because here's the thing, the very first thing that your potential buyer is going to see is whatever is on the advert, the lead images, the floor plan, the description, all of that stuff is what's going to make the first impression and is going to have a real effect on whether that person wants to come and view your property. If the advert's not right, it could cost you viewings and it could cost you money. So absolutely vital that the marketing material is on point. So now let's look at step 4. Now this is about the launch. Now this is something that a good, experienced estate agent should be able to guide you through, but some of the things that I think you should consider about launching your property to the market is that initial strategy. Personally, I like to not do any viewings for the first week, so I will put it on all the major portals, put it on social media, put your home wherever I want to put it, and all of the inquiries that build up in the first week, I then want to do a block viewing, and we'll come back to that further down the line in my viewing strategy. But I really want to create that sort of buzz and energy, so I want that block viewing. So no viewings for the first week, that's part of my strategy. You also want to consider the time of day that your property advert goes live, because you want it to hit the portals at the time where the views are at their highest. Now typically that's going to be in the evenings between 4 and 8 p.m. That's when views are going to be at their absolute peak on all of the major portals. You also want to consider that once something hits a major portal, they'll send out what's called a property alert within about an hour or so of that property going onto their portal. So you want to time it so that all of their email alerts go to the potential audience, potential buyers in that evening time, again when email open rates are at their highest. And finally, before you launch your home to the market, I also want you to consider having a plan of action when it comes to viewing days. Have days and times pre-agreed so you know that your home is going to be looking its best, you're prepared for it, and as soon as that phone starts ringing with buyer inquiries, the agent knows exactly when to offer the potential buyer a day and time to view so that no leads go by the wayside. Look guys, if you're enjoying this content, if you're finding these tips useful, please take a minute to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I've got a special free gift for you. Moving on to point number 5, and I want to talk about the difference between active and passive marketing. And what do I mean by this? Actively marketing a property for me is when it's exposed online. It's on the major portals, Rightmove, Zoopla, onthemarket.com. It's displayed, online on the web. It's for hundreds of thousands of people to see your property adverts. That's actively out there in the marketplace. But passive marketing, we look at things like the for sale board. What sort of action can that get by simply having a for sale board outside your home? We look at posting it on social media, sharing it within the local community, sneak peeks coming soon. We look at actually targeting an audience that may not be actively looking on the portals. They may not have got to that point in their moving cycle of saying, let's go and move house, let's start looking for a property. But actually they may be people that if the right place came and found them, they would consider a move. So social media is great for this, having a board outside, people drive past. If you're near a school, people walk past, they talk in the playground, and all of a sudden it might trigger someone to go, actually, I was considering moving next year, but if that house is right for me, I'm going to speed up my decision making. So passive buyer marketing is really important, and I think it's important to have a good mix of both open market exposure, online exposure, and more passive marketing to attract different types of buyers, because again, the more interest that you attract in your home, the more viewings you're going to get, the more offers you're going to get, the better the eventual sale price is going to be. Now, moving on to point number 6, and this is around monitoring the performance of the ads of your home. So obviously a lot of the advertising is going to be online, so it's really, really important that we're constantly checking in on the numbers. How are your ads performing in comparison to other similar properties on the market? How many hits are you getting, and then how many clicks and how many people are actually selecting to view? For example, is your ad performing above or below what the average for the area is, for the average for the price ranges, or the average for the branch of the estate agency that you're marketing it through? There's so many key metrics that we can measure, but ultimately I want to know, is your hit rate going up or down? If it's going down and your ad's starting to go stale, then something needs to change. It could be the changing of your lead image. For example, if you've had the nice front shot of your property and that's stopped performing, it stopped getting clicks, change it to a lovely kitchen shot, and all of a sudden you'll get loads of people clicking again because it's something different, it looks new to the marketplace, and they want to see more. So you can use different features of your home to get more clicks on your advert, because that's what the advert's there to do, it's to get clicks. It could be a price reduction, maybe the price point's too high and maybe there's similar properties around it that are lower, so again your ads are not performing, but the price reduction could give it that spike and that lease of life again. There's so many little things that we can do, but ultimately first it starts with tracking and monitoring how those ads are performing. Point number 7, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to talk about inquiries and viewing strategy. Okay, now firstly, it's really important that you are using an agent that you can have confidence is capturing every single opportunity that comes through the door, whether it's by phone, by email. Lead response time is really, really important, and there's so many ways with modern technology that we can really make sure that the leads are being responded to quickly at any time of day or night, and every single opportunity is maximised to get you the best interest in your property. So that's number 1. We've got to make the most out of the opportunities that come through the door. And number 2, going into the viewing strategy, as I said earlier, I like to do block viewings, and the reason for this is a bit of salesmanship. This is a bit about sales psychology, because here's the thing, everybody wants to buy what everyone else wants to buy, but no one wants to buy what no one else wants to buy. So if I do a block viewing and slightly overlap them, one at a time, but slightly overlap them, it shows people there's other interest. I want people to see that there's other competing buyers, because it's going to speed up their decision making. It's going to give them the illusion that this is popular, everyone wants to buy it, it must be a great house, I want to make an offer. And it's also probably going to get them to offer you a higher amount, because they're at a slight disadvantage when it comes to negotiating. If there's other interest, if they're the only person interested, they're more likely to want to offer you a lower amount because they're the ones with the position of power. So the block viewing is the perfect way to show buyers that there's more than just them looking at your home. Okay, so that leads me nicely on to my 8th point. Now this is around feedback and also a review meeting as and when needed. So feedback is super important, because let's say I do a block viewing on your property, you have 10 people view it and nobody makes an offer. You need to know why. You need to know what's putting them off, whether it's location, whether it's the price, whether it needs too much work, whether something's too big or too small, or there's something detriment or something else, there's an external factor putting them off, whatever it may be. You need to know the facts, you need to know why people are not offering on your property. So that's firstly. So really important to get your viewing feedback, maybe a weekly catch-up call, whatever it is that you agree with your agent, but really important to have that line of communication, a good, honest honest feedback so that you can make a decision on what you might have to change in the future to eventually get the right buyer and get the right offer for your property. The other point is the review meeting. Now, the reality is when you put something on the market, it's going to have a timeline before that ad goes stale. So generally the first 2 to 3 weeks of marketing is when most of your viewings come, because it's fresh, it's new, that's when it's going to get most of its interest. The longer it goes on without selling, if you don't have the right offer within the first few weeks, you're going to get less and less viewings. It's going to blend into the distance. You're going to have all these new properties coming on that you're going to go further and further down the search criteria, and eventually you're going to end up with no interest. You're going to go super stale. So the best way to stop this is to have a review meeting after about 4 to 6 weeks of going on the market. That's the point where your viewings start to drop off and your ads start to not perform very well. And you look at the facts. You say, right, how much interest have we had? What's the feedback been? Has there been any offers, even if they're a bit low? What has been going on? Because the difference between now and when you first went onto the market is we now actually have some data specific to your property so that you can make an informed decision on what you might actually have to change by way of a plan B to be successful with a mini relaunch. The review meeting for me, super important, because we absolutely do not want you going stale, and the longer it goes on, you're going to be disappointed because you're not getting the result you want. So make sure you have a review meeting after about 4 to 6 weeks, talk about a plan B and get your property sold. Now, moving into my final point, point number 9, this is around the offers and negotiation. This is where it all counts, okay? So get this stage wrong and you literally could lose thousands of pounds on your sale price. So here's a few top tips for negotiating the best price when a buyer offers on your property. Number 1, never ever take the first offer. I've seen it happen. I've actually seen inexperienced agents try to convince a client to take the first offer because they're keen to get a sale, or it's taken a few weeks to get there and it's the only offer they've got and they just don't want to lose the buyer. Hey, I get it, you don't want to lose the buyer, especially if that's the only interest you've got, but that doesn't mean that we can't be better negotiators to ensure that we get the best price that buyer's willing to pay. And that is what you're effectively paying your agent for, to negotiate the best price. Okay, so what everything's been leading up to. So never accept the first offer. I would actually be really careful when handling that first offer to use the right kind of language so we don't give them hope that that's going to be a potentially acceptable offer. Say something along the lines of, that's a good starting offer, and straight away you'll get them into the mindset of realizing that, okay, maybe I'm going to have to negotiate here. So just use the right language around the first offer. That's really important here. Another tip on the first offer, never give them a counter straight off the bat. Refuse the offer, thank them for the offer, and wait to hear what their increase is going to be. Keep the ball in their court, let them come back to you with another offer. The reason I say this is because most buyers max out at their third offer. So what that means is typically a buyer will go up 2 to 3 times during a negotiation. So I want to hear their second offer without giving them a counter, okay? Once I've got their second offer, now you're going to go back to them with a counter offer, okay? Because I want to really make sure that we're pushing them to their best and final. So once their second offer comes in, now you're also going to refuse it. You're going to say no again, even if you're tempted to take it, even if it's at the price that you thought you wanted from day one. I still want you to refuse the offer, go back to them with a counter, and actually make sure that that is their best and final. From experience, most buyers will go to a third offer as their best and final. And finally, also consider timescales and fixtures and fittings and whether there's a bit of a chain, all of that stuff when negotiating the right price. You might actually favour position over slightly higher offer. So again, always make sure that you've qualified the buyer, you know exactly what the position is, and they can work to your timescales, and all of those things are boxed off at the beginning. By boxing those things off at the beginning, you absolutely will experience less problems during the sales process. So that's it from me. Those are my 9 key steps to successfully selling your property on the open market. Now, as I promised earlier, there is a free gift for you. Here's your chance to download my free selling guide, which will take you through all of those steps and more, and totally prepare you for when you need to put your property onto the market. Now, if you find this content useful and you enjoyed the tips today, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.